here's a reality. Because of professional athletes in the NBA make more money on shoes than their contracts. Michael Jordan's made 1,000 times more money on his shoes than his contracts. And I would do the same thing. It's a branding war. It's Coke versus Pepsi. Jordan and LeBron is Coke versus Pepsi. They're both incredibly aware of each other's brand going forward because, as Jordan has proved, it pays you 20 years after you retire. So I don't think it's a coincidence that once the Jordan documentary started, LeBron had opinions on it. Hey, I'm watching it too. The minute it ended, LeBron went out with 4 or 5 big, strong opinions. My dream team would have beaten his team. My redeem team would have beaten his dream team. I would have been a great teammate of Michael Jordan. I don't think it's a coincidence. I read this story a couple days ago that LeBron just happened to talk about just all the years LeBron's been playing. Story just happened to come out that LeBron in 2011 was offered a Cowboy contract. So funny that never came out until the Jordan documentary talking about his baseball career. Folks, I was born at night, not last night. What's the old saying? Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. You think LeBron just buried this story for 9 years? It comes out after the Jordan documentary. LeBron is very calculated and very smart, and I know his handlers, and so are they. By the way, the only reason MJ did this doc, he agreed to it the day LeBron was hoisting the trophy in a Cleveland Cavalier parade in Ohio. That's why I think The Last Dance will now face The Last Chance. This is LeBron's last year to win it. The salary cap is going down because of revenues dropping. It's a bad free agency class this year, and there's no money for it, and the Lakers have shown no interest paying a big luxury tax. It is not a good draft. There's no help on the horizon. Anthony Davis isn't even going to make nearly as much as he thought. This is an old roster. The Clippers are a young roster, and they're young and old, and the Clippers are getting better and better and better. The Clippers are only going to get better over time because they have all these young players and all these moving parts. The Lakers are an old roster. This is their last shot. That's why this year is so important. We talk Last Dance. This is Last Chance. This is just a branding war. This is not like the NFL. There is no Tom Brady's revenue on his brand is peanuts. Peanuts compared to the 7th best NBA shoe deal. Harden, Westbrook, whatever it is. Michael Jordan is making $145 million a year 20 years after he played. LeBron James will make not that much, but hundreds of millions of dollars 10 years after he's played. This is why it's so important to keep your name relevant, to make sure you stay in a slot. Nobody will ever surpass Jordan, but Jordan felt a little heat when LeBron won in Cleveland, and Jordan's like, okay, I'll do the documentary. And Jordan LeBron feeling a little heat when LeBron's the most talked about because of a pandemic and there's no games and 6 million people are watching it. And he's like, I was offered a contract by the Cowboys. None of this stuff is a coincidence. It's a branding war. It's Coke versus Pepsi, just with faces we know, not big monolithic brands. I'm here for it, by the way. I want to see the NBA. I think we'll get the NBA across my fingers. And I think the Lakers have a shot to win it, although I'll take the Clippers first, Lakers second, Bucks third, Celtics fourth. Here's Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, the relationship between Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur is one that we're going to watch this season. And Packers writer Pete Doherty said that LaFleur went to great lengths to establish a good relationship with his quarterback last season.
He did.
But Rodgers' unhappiness with the Jordan Love pick could cause a rift between the two of them.
Wow.
Doherty says to watch for either Rodgers to have a big year to prove that he's still the guy, or for the relationship to deteriorate and drive Rodgers' departure from Green Bay. He pointed to Brady's improved performance after the Patriots drafted Jimmy Garoppolo to, one day take his place as an example of how Rodgers could react to this situation.
Well, I still contend it was okay to pick Jordan Love, but you had to go get a receiver with the second pick, not reach for a running back nobody probably would have drafted in the second. If you went up to Aaron the next day and say, listen, we got to protect our franchise. This guy's you. But But we went and got your receiver, a center, guards, a blocking tight end to make sure you could. The Packers did a lousy job of selling the message. I said this with the NCAA all the time. They let guys like Jay Billis control the message. Nothing against Jay. You got to control the message. The Packers, by drafting a running back, now you're like, okay, we reached in a running back. We never got a receiver. We got your replacement. What's the messaging to him? So I'm fascinated. I think they're going to be. I think it'll work because Aaron will, if not make it work, it'll work to some level because he's so talented. But it's a real story.
I do think he's going to have a big year. I could see him, stepping up. And, he has that kind of attitude to want to do that, which I guess is a good thing. But my issue with the Jordan Love pick is that it really, we're drawing the comparison of the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation because it's Green Bay and it involves Aaron Rodgers. But it's really not the same scenario. And they traded up in the first round to get Jordan Love. That's an immediate thing to do for someone who you're saying is not going to immediately play. So while I understand having to protect your franchise, don't you feel like Aaron Rodgers is strong enough to continue like this level of play or better for at least the next 2 years? Probably 3? Or
you're saying that you think Jordan Love is
like,
really...
is Jordan Love that talented that you felt like you had to trade up this year to do that? I
mean, listen, you can watch his tape, 6'4", 220, huge arm, athletic. You can make the argument, this was Mahomes, that everybody was kind of like, God, they moved up for Patrick Mahomes. He didn't have a winning record in college, but they said it. Look at his body, look at his dad, look at his arm. He's a little loose. I mean... The knock on Mahomes was, doesn't win enough in college and he's loose. The knocks on Jordan Love is, he doesn't win enough in college and he was kind of not only loose physically, but, he got caught smoking pot. He's a little loose.
He very well maybe. But when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, they lost in the wild card game. Right? The Green Bay Packers were in the NFC Championship game last year.
But humiliated.
They were 13-3. They were humiliated because they played an incredible team. They played a better team in the San Francisco 49ers. So wouldn't you want to improve on the team that made it to the NFC Championship game this year?
No.
If you lose in the wild card game, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Things might be starting to slip. Make it to the NFC Championship game. There's 4 teams left. The Packers were one of them.
It's funny. I watch all the people grade the draft for the Packers, and they got low grades. And my takeaway is... it's not Jordan Love. It's after. When you watch Green Bay play outside of Devontae Adams, do you see a ton of playmakers on either side of the ball? You see good football players.
Right.
But God, you start watching some of these other teams in the NFL, you just see, San Francisco, George Kittle, the Bosa's. It's like when you reach on a running back from Boston College in the second round, that ain't beating the 49ers. You gotta scare them a little.
That's my point.
Me, that crushed their draft. If they went and got, who was the wide receiver in the second round, one of these great wide receivers, there's a million of them. I think we'd all look today and go, I like him.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't have a problem with them taking Jordan Love. I have a problem with how they took Jordan Love.
Yeah, they moved up.
So LeBron James said this week that he started training to play football during the 2011 NBA lockout. And he even got a contract offer from Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. But former Dallas linebacker DeMarcus Ware thinks he would have had some trouble blocking if he became a tight end in the league.
Thank you.
If LeBron had been a tight end, and many thought he would, could LeBron have blocked you off the edge, DeMarcus?
No way in hell LeBron would have blocked me. But I think that he would have made a really, really good tight end, especially just his athleticism. He would have been crushing it, man, getting a lot of touchdowns.
Well,
yeah. By the way, we had LeBron. It's called Jimmy Graham, who's not as good as LeBron, but Jimmy Graham worked in one system, and even Russell Wilson, who makes everybody great,